Hello everyone, welcome to ekamiasacademy. So we are continuing up with this particular real-time answer writing series. So there was a break of 2 to 3 days due to some back work which we have did. So we would be continuing the series. And post this, many students have given us a request of writing the answers regarding with the geography and agriculture context also. There also we are going to help you. So initially we have started up this particular answer writing regarding with environment. Then we have took few questions in disaster management, and post that 100% we are going to make it for geography, history, polity as well as economy and ethics integrity as well. So as everyone know how we will try to write this real-time answer series. So first we will try to understand the question. Then we will try to catch the pulse of the question. Then we will see the approach of how to write this answer. Then we start writing this particular answer as such. So if you could see and read the question, evaluate the role of government preparedness. So how government is prepared in mitigating the impact of devastating cyclones in short-term and long-term basis. So how could you think like the government is that prepared so that if any disaster comes, exclusively ये तो disaster के बारे में पूछना था, but directly they have given it regarding with the cyclones. So how better government in its short term and long term measures, it is very well prepared regarding with these particular cyclones. ये पूछ रहे थे यहाँ पे. So National Disaster Management Authority and उसका guidelines and National Cyclone Mitigation Plans ये सब लिखेंगे. But उससे पहले never ever shoot the question very directly. Because like see, हो सकता है examiner who would be correcting the paper, he might have very limited knowledge regarding with the cyclone. पहले उसको समझाओ cyclone क्या होता है. तो इसमें क्या है, approach of the answer is like, as everyone know, the evergreen strategy which we follow. The evergreen strategy is introduction, body and conclusion. तो introduction में क्या लिखेंगे? Think that examiner doesn't know anything regarding with cyclone. So explain cyclone or define cyclone. Define cyclone so that the examiner would be understanding it very effectively. So what is meant by cyclone? मतलब ये low pressure, high pressure होता क्या है? वो prevailing winds क्या है? You have to define this particular thing in introduction. So when he reads this introduction, he should understand what that particular cyclone is. Coming to body. As they have asked about the government preparedness, तो ये पहले preparedness बोलने से पहले this particular aspect is not there in the question. Directly तो दिया नहीं, but indirectly we have impact. So पहले आप impacts बताओ, है ना? So what are the impacts which we have regarding with the cyclone? Then government preparedness. तो इसको अलग अलग कर दो. शॉर्ट टर्म में गवर्नमेंट क्या करती है, लॉन्ग टर्म विजन क्या है गवर्नमेंट का, दिस यू हैव टू फोकस. सी सेपरेटली मेंशन शॉर्ट टर्म एंड लॉन्ग टर्म. ऐसा नहीं कि पूरा एक ही में डाल दो ताकि आपको कम मार्क्स मिले. जनरली इफ दिस क्वेश्चन इज आस्क्ड फॉर 10 मार्क्स, हो सकता है इफ यू राइट ओनली मेजर्स यू विल बी गेटिंग लीस्ट मार्क्स. उसको सेपरेट सेग्रीगेटली दिखाओ. शॉर्ट टर्म प्रिपेयर्डनेस क्या होता है, लॉन्ग टर्म प्रिपेयर्डनेस क्या होता है. एंड वे फॉरवर्ड, तो वे फॉरवर्ड में आपका सूचना जो है, क्लियर, आपका थिंकिंग प्रोसेस जो है, और वॉट एवर वे फॉरवर्ड इफ यू वांट टू गिव और सजेस्ट सम मेजर्स, ये सारे ये वे फॉरवर्ड में लिखो. ये कंक्लूजन हो जाएगा आपका. सो इन कंक्लूजन प्लीज डू राइट दिस पर्टिकुलर वे फॉरवर्ड. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आजकल आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस बहुत चल रहा है, सो यू कैन सजेस्ट गवर्नमेंट दैट बाय इफेक्टिव यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस and by effective utilization of early warning systems through this artificial intelligence, we can be prepared regarding with these particular cyclones so that it can, the forecasting methodology which is there, that can be updated by making the digitalized aspect to enter here, and we can structure up the answer. So this is how the approach of the answer shall be. So let's move into the answer writing. तो क्या बोला था introduction में, क्या लिखने के लिए बोला था? Introduction में you have to write about the definition of the cyclone. Especially we have two types of cyclones. Generally there are tropical cyclones and temperate cyclones. जो इंडिया को आता है वो tropical cyclone ही है. So ऐसा नहीं कि आप पूरा temperate cyclone के बारे में लिखो. Please try to skip the temperate cyclone वाला aspect. Okay. So definition regarding with the cyclone, if you start writing, cyclone is a closed air circulation of atmospheric disturbance which have closed isobars having wind spirals moving towards low pressure centers surrounded by high pressures. Full stop, continuation. And these cyclones attain closed whirling motions under the influence of Coriolis force. So इतना अगर इंट्रोडक्शन लिख लिए तो बहुत है ना. सी यू हैव डिफाइंड दिस साइक्लोन. नाउ द एग्जामिनर हु इज करेक्टिंग योर पेपर, उसको पता है साइक्लोन क्या होता है, तो हो सकता है यू अंडरलाइन दिस पॉइंट्स लाइक क्लोज्ड आइसोबार है ना, क्लोज्ड एयर सर्कुलेशन, विंड्स स्पाइरल मूविंग टुवर्ड्स लो प्रेशर सेंटर, साइक्लोन अटेन्स क्लोज्ड व्हीलिंग मोशंस अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ कोरियोलिस फोर्स. एंड इफ यू वांट टू कंटिन्यू, सी इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन either दे आर आस्किंग इट फॉर 150 वर्ड और 250 वर्ड. अगर 150 वर्ड पूछे तो इतना बस है, अगर 250 वर्ड पूछे तो कंटिन्यू करो इसको. कोरियोलिस फोर्स विच मेक्स साइक्लोनिक मूवमेंट एंटी क्लॉकवाइज इन नॉर्थर्न हेमिस्फीयर एंड क्लॉकवाइज इन सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर. तो अगर 250 वर्ड्स के लिए पूछे आप बढ़ा सकते हैं इंट्रोडक्शन को, बट 150 वर्ड में पूछे इतना तक ठीक है ना. सो अगर ये इंट्रोडक्शन आप दे दिया, सी वन गुड इंट्रोडक्शन मेक्स द एग्जामिनर टू गिव यू ए हाफ एक्सेस मार्क. लाइक आधा मार्क भी अगर बढ़ गया, 20 क्वेश्चन के लिए आधा मार्क बोले तो 10 मार्क ऑब्वियसली यू आर अहेड है ना. 4 पेपर को मिला के 40 मार्क, ऑप्शनल में मिला के 60, ऐसे मिला के 60-70, तो पूरा खुल मिला के you will score 80 more than the average people who have scored in this examination. So make sure that the introduction whichever you write, it shall be a perfect one. चाहे तो आप डायग्राम यूज कर सकते हो, यहाँ पे क्लोज्ड एयर सर्कुलेशन ये रिप्रेजेंटेशन दे सकते हैं, लो प्रेशर हाई प्रेशर एरिया. बट ऐसा नहीं कि लाइक दिस इज ए ज्योग्राफी आंसर. हियर वी आर ट्राइंग टू फोकस अपॉन द डिवास्टेटिंग इम्पैक्ट के ऊपर, how preparedness government is in the short term and long term measures, so that we are focusing assets. So not necessarily important that we have to explain this. but अगर यही क्वेश्चन ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन के ऊपर आप ज्योग्राफी में लिखें तो the examiner tends to expect the diagrammatical representation over here. Okay, moving into body of answer. तो बॉडी में क्या बोला था, पहले impacts लिखो. इंपैक्ट में पहला जो हमारा मन में आएगा कोस्टल फ्लडिंग है ना, स्टॉर्म सर्जेस, एंड लैटरल माइग्रेशन, लॉस ऑफ लाइवलीहुड, ब्रैकेट्स में लिखो फिशरमैन कम्युनिटी. है ना, यही इंपैक्ट्स होते हैं साइक्लोन के ऊपर. फ्लडिंग तो लिख लिया, स्टॉर्म सर्जेस, लेटरल माइग्रेशन, लॉस ऑफ लाइवलीहुड. नेक्स्ट लिखो डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी. सो कोस्टल रीजन में बायोडाइवर्सिटी जो है, बायोडाइवर्सिटी एवरीवन नो द डेफिनेशन ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी, लाइक इट्स सिंपली वैरायटी ऑफ लाइफ फॉर्म्स विच इज देयर, उसको हम बायोडाइवर्सिटी बोलते हैं. So destruction of that particular biodiversity, this is one context which would be there. And changes in regional climates. This is one impact. So livelihood के बारे में लिखे, changes. See, we are covering every aspect. Social life लिख लिए, lateral migration, livelihood, economic life लिख लिए, flooding geography लिख लिए, storm surge geography लिख लिए, environment लिख रहे हैं, changes in regional climates again geography लिख रहे हैं. So our impact जो भी हम लिख रहे हैं cyclone के बारे में, we are covering all spiral aspects. ऐसा नहीं कि we are going it in a single flow. So you can also mention effect on communication and infrastructure. जहाँ पे भी like wherever you would be finding cyclone in those particular regions, chances are there that huge amount of communication loss would be there along with the lacking of infrastructure. And one more point you can write, loss of tourist activities along the coastal region. So these are the genuine impacts which would be there. Or if you want to elaborate you can write it, but question में impact के बारे में ज़्यादा नहीं पूछे. See, here we are just writing the impacts to make sure that whenever we write the measures or preparedness of the government, वो बेहतर समझने के लिए we are writing this particular impacts. Otherwise question में directly नहीं पूछे. So if you could write some 4 to 5 points out of it as an impact with these particular keywords, that would be more than enough. Don't drag more than this. Okay. Body part number 2 क्या लिखेंगे? Short term measures लिखेंगे. Body में part 2 short term measures. Short term measures में how government is providing us measure is providing tracking of cyclone, forecasting. So IMD generally forecast this. National Disaster Management Authority would be giving the guidelines to tackle this cyclone. But this forecasting का काम जो भी है, tracking का काम जो भी है, it would be done by IMD. There is no necessity that you write it, but you have to know. And on basis of color coding, IMD gives you certain warnings, yellow, green, orange, red. So just go and cross check what is this color coded warning system related with cyclone. Already UPSC has asked this question. So government preparedness ने short term measures में क्या है? Providing tracking, forecasting and giving early warning systems में से जो messages देंगे. क्लियर, ये एक शॉर्ट टर्म मेजर है. जैसे लो प्रेशर डेवलप होगा इन एंड अराउंड बे ऑफ बंगाल एंड अरेबियन सी, they tend to forecast that this particular cyclone is moving along this particular coast. They are moving along this particular Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and they tend to warn certain regions that these regions are going to experience intense flooding and all. But this forecasting is very difficult, you know, because cyclone can't be tracked that effectively to the deepest level. हम ये बोल सकते लाइक ये रीजन को अटैक कर सकते, बट व्हाट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ इंटेंसिटी, हाउ हायर इट वुड बी, वी कांट जस्टिफाई एज सच. सो इफेक्टिव नेचर ऑफ ट्रैकिंग, फोरकास्टिंग एंड अर्ली वार्निंग सिस्टम्स हैव टू बी देयर. ये यहाँ पे मत लिखो, सिर्फ यहाँ पे लिस्ट आउट करो कि लाइक व्हाट आर द शॉर्ट टर्म मेजर्स. लेटर ऑन व्हेन यू राइट इन द कंक्लूजन वो वे फॉरवर्ड वहां पे लिख लो, है ना. नेक्स्ट शॉर्ट टर्म मेजर्स में कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ साइक्लोन शेल्टर्स, रोड्स, लिंक्स, सेफ्टी प्लेसेस. So whenever the cyclone tends to hit or during the course of cyclonic impact, generally government preparedness short term में क्या होता है, they generally tend to establish some short term cyclonic shelters, roads, links and safety places would be established as such. Next, this is very important, mock drills and training local community by NDRF and SDRF forces, National Disaster Response Force and SDRF forces. What they would be doing is they would make the local communities to know about how they would tackle this particular cyclones. Generally, we initiate and ignite this particular concept with that of first responders. So in disaster management, these particular first responders, they are going to play a crucial role, because तुरंत साइक्लोन आया तो फोन करे तो मिलिट्री भाग के नहीं आएगा, है ना, टाइम लगेगा 48 आवर्स पैकअप करने के लिए. पहले ऑर्डर्स आने चाहिए, देन दे हैव टू पैक इट अप, देन दे हैव टू मूव टू द लोकेशन, देन दे हैव टू ट्रैवल टू द एग्जैक्ट पिक्चर्ड पॉइंट. सो समवेयर अराउंड 24 आवर से लेके 48 आवर तक टाइम लगेगा. सो तब तक फ्लड तो नहीं रुकेगा, साइक्लोन तो नहीं रुकेगा. तो what we have to do when we train this local community, they themselves would be acting as a first responder who generally tend to tackle and doesn't make these particular disasters to reach the catastrophic stage as such. That's why this is one short-term measure which government takes. You being a district collector, you would be acting as a disaster manager. So in those regions wherever you would be posted, you should know the history of the disasters which would occur over there. Like let's say you are posted in the foothill states of Himalayas, floods are common. So you have to train the people regarding with the floods. If you are posted in Himalayan regions, then you have to train the local community to respond to the earthquakes, landslides and avalanches. If you are posted in the coastal districts, you have to train the people regarding with tsunamis, cyclones, storm surges, floods. If you are posted in somewhere around arid and semi-arid areas of the country, you have to make people to be prepared with that of drought conditions. So that is what we have to focus, है ना. शॉर्ट टर्म एस्पेक्ट्स में यही आएंगे, बहुत सारे हैं, but these three are the things which comes in the primordial picture. And in short term measures, we can also mention plantation of stronger roots, developing forestry which acts as shelter belts, So this is one short term method which we can follow. Proper drainage infrastructure improvement. Generally, what local state governments and local municipalities would be doing is, just before the heavy rainfall season or cyclonic predictions, they generally tend to improve, which जो मरम्मत करते हैं तो वो मरम्मत होता है just before this cyclonic phase or intense rainfall phase. This year 2024 India is going to attack with huge amount of floods. So obviously you would be finding huge amount of drainage infrastructures which would be properly channeled in certain aspects. So ये 5 पॉइंट जो भी हैं, these are the short term measures which generally government makes prepared with whenever there would be situation or forecasting regarding with the cyclone. Long term measures में government उतना खास नहीं किया है, but long term measures are also very important, where NDMA have given guidelines to tackle cyclones. This is one long term measure. National Cyclone Mitigation plan have been developed. Government instituted developing mangrove forestries along coastal belts. So these are some kind of long term measures which government opted to follow, है ना. This is very important. कई जगह पे मैंग्रोव्स कट कर रहे हैं, कई जगह पे मैंग्रोव्स को इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं. इफ यू कुड सी द केस स्टडी ऑफ महाराष्ट्र, ड्यू टू द कोस्टल रोड बेल्ट वहां पे मैंग्रोव्स कट किया गया था. एंड ड्यू टू दिस बुलेट रेल का जो प्रोजेक्ट है उसकी वजह से सम 3000 मैंग्रोव्स हैव बीन कट. बट along the east coast, along Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, they started inducing the development of high amount of mangroves and started the mangrove plantations along the coastal region. So one of the best long-term measure through which we can control tsunamis, storm surges and cyclones as such. So there is a national cyclone mitigation plan. so which have different components which have been involved in it. So this is one of the appreciable method where government measure can be taken, and regularly following these particular NDMA guidelines for prevention and mitigation of this particular cyclone whenever it would become. So these guidelines अगर हम follow कर लिए तो हो सकता है ये cyclone का impact जो भी है वो reduce हो जाए completely. And one more point is like they are developing integrated coastal zone management plan. Still अभी ये insist नहीं हुआ है, so it will take 1 or 2 years more to insist this plan. So this effective implementation के लिए they started integrating the entire coastal belt, and under Sagarmala project also where the port facilities and the port infrastructure development जो हो रहा है उसमें भी ये ecologically sensitive regions are not being disturbed, so that these disaster risk जो भी हैं that shall be increased. So government long term preparedness में और we have to have more and more effectiveness like development of coastal shields like sand dunes, effectively sandbanks and rock structures can come handy into picture. But despite doing all of this, the intensity of cyclone when it would be great, obviously it tends to impact. So cyclone को हम रोक नहीं सकते. We can't stop cyclone. अगर हम बोल लिए तो cyclone रुकेगा भी नहीं. The only thing which we have to do is we have to be very well prepared. उसके लिए conclusion में what you have to write is within the conclusion aspect. Cyclone preparedness tends to reduce the impacts of cyclone. Hence, with technological advancements shall make more effective early warning systems like usage of artificial intelligence to an extent can help in tackling these kind of disasters. So not criticizing the short term or long term measures which government has followed or prepared, we can sincerely suggest some methods with viable optimistic conclusion, so that even we are not criticizing government, just we are supporting the government measures. Along with that we are also following the measures which we have to follow. So conclusion कभी भी लिखो आप वो पॉजिटिव और ऑप्टिमिस्टिक कंक्लूजन ही होना चाहिए. पॉजिटिव एंड ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, ऐसा नहीं कि आप तुरंत पूरा मेजर्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट को क्रिटिसाइज करने लगे. दैट डजंट अलाउ यू टू फेच सम गुड मार्क्स इन योर आंसर. The reason behind it is you are going to become a government servant. Let the political party frame up the government or not, you will be part of the government. So you are criticizing the same thing which you would be doing in the future. So that doesn't give you any sense as such. So that's why make sure that you every time give some amount of positive and optimistic conclusion to this. Okay. So in this way, this particular answer can be constructed. We would be coming up with more and more answers. If you want certain points which you have written in your answer to be checked, please do drop it in the comment section. We'd be checking and giving you the valuable feedback. And if you want to contact us regarding with this help regarding of answer writing, so below given are the contact details. If you have liked this video, please do like it, share it as much as you can, so that it flourishes like an education revolution. And please subscribe to Ekam Academy channel and click on the bell icon so that you would be getting continuous notifications regarding with the videos which we would be making. And if you want us to make any videos of any topic, please do drop in the comment section as well, so that we would be helping you. So hope you have enjoyed this particular answer writing. Start writing the answer along with the starting up of the video. We would be helping you in the regard. Thank you. Thank you for watching this lecture. Have an awesome day. Jai Hind.